The NBA draft is here. We're finally going to see some new crop of talent come into the league, different prospects and everything like that. So we'll talk about that. This is Ballin Out. Sean, Nate, and Grant back with you guys. It's supposed to be, like I said, good episode. I think we'll give our not going to go through the whole draft, but give our lottery picks. More so, look at obviously the top five, get into the top 10 a little bit, and then a couple big things happens within the last 24 hours, we could say. Dusty May, coach of, or I should say, former coach of the Frauds, decided to go and coach Cooper Flag in Dallas. So that should be exciting. We'll talk about that. Let's talk about the Dusty May stuff first. So Dusty May, just coming off the national championship with the Michigan Wolverines. They did decide to then go to Dallas. Coach Cooper Flag. It was kind of, I'd say, surprising thing, that it was going to happen. He's reported to sign a contract extension next month. But obviously, that didn't end up happening. So, I mean, what are you guys' thoughts on, just him moving up to the big leagues? I think it's one of the more recent, coaches that went from college to pros. It's been a few good names. Most recently from Michigan, John Beilein, who, notoriously did terrible in his time in the NBA and then proceeded to not coach again. But what are you guys' thoughts on the May hire? Grant, I know you got some fire, so go ahead, brother.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, Dusty May, like you said, is a fraud, regardless of how it is. But it just brings the question. I want to get you guys a thought real quick on this too. Like, what about being like a college coach and like I guess getting to like the pros, but like what makes it so much better to be a college coach these days? Like, what about the NBA like entices you guys more than like college ball now? Like, I get the not having to worry about every single roster guy like wanting to leave, but like, the turnover in the NBA right now, like, unless you're a more solidified guy on a solidified team, like, you can get canned probably in, like, a year or 2 or, like, 3 years, like, I mean, it's just, like, I feel like there's more solidity, like, in coaching college right now, like, especially at Michigan. This is why I just don't agree with his move just because Michigan, for one, we all know it, they really don't give 2 shits about college basketball. Just frankly, they don't. Like, they're a football school, 100%. They just happen to be really good at, college basketball this season. And so I think at the end of the day, like, if you had a guy like Dusty May where respect to where he is, I mean, he's a decent coach regardless of what I think about him. You have basically no real pressure from here on out to, like, do that again. I mean, at the end of the day, Michigan fans are extremely happy and blessed with what they got. And, like, if you're Dusty May, just sit back and take your money and, like, you'll be chilling. So I just think the NBA route for him right now is just it's just gonna be another temporary stay, if you will. We'll see, if he continues to coach the NBA, if he gets bounced around, the bowling alley, or I mean, we'll find out really what goes down with them. But I mean, I think that the Mavs coaching position was one of the better ones to get in the NBA. There's no doubt about that. I think just with everything that happened with the Mavs, you definitely want a clean slate going into that, and you kind of can be the guy that, hey, if it doesn't work, we're still gonna fire you, but like it's not gonna be really on him per se. So it's a great move to the Mavs. I like that aspect of it, but for me, maybe it's just a personal thing, but I just don't get the whole NBA coaching, is like the end all be all goal. I think we've seen that. Like you said, a lot of other coaches that have tried to do it, that have done it, and it just didn't turn out well, didn't pan out well. It just wasn't for them. But yeah, I don't know. What are you guys' thoughts on that specifically?
I kind of want to see honestly what the team looks like, before the season. I don't know if you can, because right now the roster isn't really constructed to probably how he's gonna want it. So, but in regards to like going from college to NBA, like I think right now there's probably just a lot of uncertainty with some of the, NCAA stuff in terms of the transfer portal, NIL, all this stuff, and maybe it's just for a caliber like Dusty May, maybe he just doesn't wanna have to deal with all that and, have a solidified, like, salary cap and know kind of what the season's length is always gonna be like. Because I mean, with college, I mean, the tournaments and all these other things that they have, like, the season can kinda vary based on how you guys are doing. But with NBA, it is just, like, established schedule. I think it'll be decent. It will be honestly based on, though, I think how the roster looks, because I do think they probably make some trades tomorrow for the draft. I've heard some rumors about they might be interested in pick 12 and I think pick 17 from OKC maybe or something like that. And if they either move back and try to get two for one essentially, then they might have some plans up their sleeve. But I wonder now if there will be any other because there's a couple other coaching spots open still, right? And I wonder if any more, yeah, of those college guys are gonna try to move over.
Yeah,
But
it's interesting. I mean, I just think like John Shire, like he's got like I mean, that's the thing. It's a little bit different with like the Duke because I mean, Duke is like expected to basically perform well in basketball every single year. It's like if you don't make a Final Four, almost like it's a bust of a season, you know. So my whole thing with Michigan, it's like I don't think there's that much pressure there to continue to do well. And yeah, I get like yeah, at the exact moment, like college sports is just like the Wild West right now. I do get that aspect of it for sure, but like I just think like it would be almost a perfect job. It's not too high stress. He just happened to get in there and just he did really well his second year. And his
yeah,
first
and with
year he did
with
well.
them winning the title too, I wonder if that had any. I mean, it probably had some sort of influence on him wanting to leave. I mean, maybe he didn't want to try to live up to that expectation again this next season, just because he knew that a lot of his main guys on that Michigan team are going to the league now. So
Yeah, that'd be incredibly soft, but yeah, you know,
yeah, I mean, I do think some of the guys are ducking once they get the opportunity, but I don't know if John Shire will leave though. I think he probably that job is probably a little more coveted.
Yeah, I would agree. I think to answer your question, Grant, I think it has to do. I agree with Nate with like the NIL, just the fact that like, all right, like basically once you're out of the tournament, right? You
Yeah.
gotta reconstruct your roster from that moment. Like it's not like okay, you can wait a day or whatnot. With the way that just college sports are in general, it's a little bit different. With basketball, I'm not sure, but I know like for football example, right? Went to a Division 1 bowl game, so I was sitting in the press conferences, after with the coaches and, the questions were like, how is this next year's squad going to look, and those questions for the future. And he was like, basically, you're going to get on a bus, go home, give the guys a couple days off because it was after Thanksgiving, and then basically come in Monday and talk about what next year is going to be like. So I think just like the uncertainty of like it being just who know like up in the air more than like the NBA. Because I mean, the NBA, like you said, like yes, your roster is gonna change and guys are gonna get canned or whatever. But at the end of the day, like you know, you have each team. I think has about 2 or 3 guys that they know. Okay, for sure they're coming back next year, right? Whether they be like two-way guys or starters, or like a franchise player. Like who's gonna come back next season and how you can kind of build off of that. So I think it had to just do a little bit more with that. I do think that it was a little cupcake. I do agree with you. Just the fact that, did win a national championship and you got all these transfers and everything like that. And I mean, basically everybody came back except for the 3 guys that are supposed to go top 15 in the lottery, right? So, it's kind of crazy that he just kind of let that go. But, I understand. I think it too, there's a lot of stuff that's going on in Michigan
Well,
University in
to
Ann
May's
Arbor.
point
So
too, he probably. I mean, he brought that Florida Atlantic team as well to the Final Four, and the Michigan team had a bunch of transfers, so maybe that might work in his favor of, like, being able to work with a roster that's kind of misfit not even misfit, but, like, players who haven't really played for a long time together, like, going into Dallas, obviously, they got a lot of young guys, so that might actually, kinda be in his favor of knowing how to coach teams that might not have as much team chemistry of playing together over the years.
yeah. No, I would agree. Yeah, it was just like I said, it was just an interesting hire. But we'll see if it ends up does happening. I think it was kind of strategic, right, for them to do it right before the draft, so you know who it is. I think the only team that's left, I have to look at it, but I think the only team that doesn't have a coach before the draft is the Blazers. And we recently talked about that, how they messed that all up. So yeah, I'd be interested to see, to your point, Grant, too, of if there's more college coaches that do end up going, to the NBA. So we'll see here in the future. But yeah, props to him. Hope he, I think I think he's a good coach for where the Mavs are right now, right? A young team, but like he's like you said, he's not going to be there for I don't think beyond 3 years, right? Unless he's just like that good of a coach. He is. I respect him, but I don't know if he's NBA level, can take a team to a championship type of coach, right? So we'll end up seeing. We'll end up seeing how that all ends up playing here in the next couple years, I guess. But yeah, we got the draft coming up. That's on Tuesday. Pretty good names. People have talked about how this draft class is possibly up there with some of the best, just because of how deep it is. I mean, I will say like going through like the lottery and just going through the picks, like it is kind of guard heavy. I will say, I don't know if you guys noticed that too. It is kind of guard heavy, even with like taller guards, but it's still, I think it's a lot of talent in this draft. Yeah, also, I think with the draft, also interested to see like who's going to be that bust, right? Who's going to be that guy that gets made fun of for the next 5 seasons before he gets out the league. So that's interest to see. Obviously, we won't know until I think the end of this time next year. But yeah, so want to kind of do it like this. Well, obviously, give our go. We can go through the lottery, if we want to, but I want to focus on top five. Each give our top five, and then we can kind of go around the table and just talk about that real fast. So, Grant, go ahead and give us your top five draft picks for this 2026 NBA draft.
Yeah, I think number one's pretty easy. I think for the most part, agree on it. I think AJ's solidified himself as that number one pick there, and I'll get to it as well because I think like the next two here, I think this is kind of where you can see a little bit of flip flop between the two. I personally think that just Darren Peterson might be a better fit for the Utah Jazz as opposed to Cam Boozer. So that's why personally I have him as two and Cam Boozer three, even though I think I personally like Cam Boozer as a player better. It goes back and forth for me personally there, but Darren Peterson two, Cam Boozer three, Caleb Wilson, I think a very solid four. I don't think I'd be shocked if like Wagler or any other guards went above him. So I got him easily number four, and that five, Sean, where your Clippers are at, I think there is some room for it, but I do have Keaton Wagler there. I think just with the size and his ability to one play off the ball and on the ball as he did the end of the year there for Illinois, I think he's just a little bit more of a pro ready guy in that aspect. He's got more of a pro ready body. So I got him as five right.
I
Yeah,
like that, Grant.
yeah, Nate, what's your thoughts on that? You like that?
Yeah, we have pretty. I mean, I'll say my five. I do got AJ at one. I did. I don't know. Maybe it's the family tie with his dad playing in Utah, but I think I think this is probably the year too. Maybe I thought about this, but I think Markkinen probably sneaky out of there this year. I mean, he's been on the block for a while. I think this is a opportunity for them to kind of get his replacement, and then they can the Jazz can really start over from there. I mean, they just got Jaren too last year. I think he would play well with Boozer, and then I think for Memphis, on the other hand, like there've been a lot of rumors about Ja, but I think him and Peterson would be a pretty nice duo. Maybe entice him to stay, but even if they decide to get rid of Ja, he's a nice kind of centerpiece. Wilson, I have heard a lot of good things in terms of like him in Chicago. I feel like he's been kind of mocked at for a lot of them, and I feel like I've heard Chicago says they like him. So I got him at four, and then I got Acuff at five. Sean, I like Wagler, but I don't know. I feel like he's a guy maybe not necessarily ready. He kind of reminds me of like a Jason Preston, if you remember him.
Hmm.
Just a taller guard. He's got a lot of skill, but he's super young. So I don't know if that's what the Clippers are really looking for right now. I feel like Acuff could probably be a better scoring option for them immediately. So those are my top five. I do got some like I don't know if we want to go into now or if you want to talk about your top five, Sean, but I do have some like lottery trades. I do think there are going to be some trades in the lottery.
Yeah, I have a couple too. So yeah, let me get my top five first. But I do want to ask you guys now, when you guys made this, did you guys go for best available player or best team fit? Because I have some of more so once we get past the top five, but I do have a couple of them like for best fit or best available player.
Yeah, I want more like best team fit personally with the mix of like I mean, if it's just too good of a player like Caleb Wilson just was a no brainer, I thought, like to the Bulls, just something like that. But like Darren Peterson, I have him, behind Cam Boozer, I think, in my player rankings, but I have him being drafted ahead. So that's just one of the areas I have that.
Yeah, I'm kind of same. I feel like really after the top three, the the draft is pretty stacked, so it really does, for me at least, look like more of a team fit thing. I mean, honestly, you could probably say that like for a lot of teams every year, but really like 6 through 14, and on is could really be anyone, honestly.
Yeah. No, I agree. Okay. I like that. I was just curious. So I actually different for the number one pick, and I'm gonna explain it. I'll kind of shorten it up a little bit here. I do have Darren going number one. For a
Okay.
while, I had AJ number one, but I have Darren number one going to the Wizards. I think it's a better team fit for the Wizards. There, you have Trae Young, you have Darren Peterson, right? It's a smaller backcourt, but a very offensive just threat backcourt, right? I feel like just because they already have enough wings, they already have, yes, AJ's better than them, but I feel like they already have enough wings with Bilal and Keyshawn and Trey Johnson. I'm forgetting somebody else, but I feel like they do have enough wings ready to go ahead and plug and play with that team. And I think if Anthony Davis does decide to commit with his team, I feel like Darren would be better to go with AD and Alex Sarr opposed to AJ. Not saying that, I'd hate, if AJ went one, but I just went for like team fit right there. And then obviously I have AJ number two. I also kind of think that I've always believed the BYU stuff and all of that, that AJ was destined to go to the Jazz. Grizzlies, I have Cam Boozer. Obviously, that was best available player for me, and I think he's the centerpiece, of that franchise. With them most likely, I think moving off of Ja. For Caleb Wilson, they number one. I think he's the best next available prospect, but also they do not need another guard. I mean, oh my gosh, they already
Yeah.
have like a full roster of guards. They don't need another guard. So obviously, I think four plus him and Matas might be nice. I'm not gonna lie. You give it a
Mhm.
couple years, I think if Matas continues to improve, I think this, that wing could be kind of like a Tatum Brown type of thing here in a couple years. Five with my Clips, man. I have three different scenarios here. I could see a trade, whether that be, for another superstar to pair with Kawhi. If you're, saying like, hey, are we going to extend Kawhi and he, comes back, we're going to put the superstar, try to make one last couple runs, with Kawhi as a centerpiece. I do have Nate and Matt because we do struggle at the four a little bit, right? We already have, the Garland's guard. We do need, probably a shooting guard, but I liked what I saw from Kobe Sanders this past season. I don't know if he's starter ready, but I do like him possibly getting more elevated role. Mikael Brown Jr. I put over Keaton Wagler just because I do think that Mikael Brown Jr. is a little bit more better efficient on the offensive end than Wagler, but I would not be opposed to Wagler at all. Nate, yeah, I know you mentioned Acuff. I did want Acuff, but then I was like, I don't know if we, could have two guards that are so offensive oriented, especially if you don't have Kawhi next year. That's just going to be, I mean,
So
might
you
win
got a
30 games.
Met at 5 then? Or you
I have
got
a Met, Mikhail Brown Jr., or a trade. Either three of those. If I had to go with one, I'd go Mikhail Brown Jr. I'd lean that more heavily than the trade
over
with.
even a guy like Fleming too? Kingston Fleming?
Yeah, yeah. I think Flemings is. I mean, you can get to it. Flemings is more bottom 10. Either I have him going to the Kings, or I could see him going to the Hawks, kind of like a future piece once CJ, they decide to dump him or whatnot. So
Well, Grant, we know if it's a Met or McCall, they're going to be the bust of the draft. Not going to help the Clippers. I mean, I respect it, I guess. I just saw Acuff, like he kind of has that LA swag to him. I feel like too. He could.
he does.
I
He
don't.
does.
Darius Garland step aside. You
Yeah,
know.
I mean, honestly, I wouldn't mind like if they were like, okay, draft Acuff and give it maybe a year for Garland to kind of you know bring him up and how the NBA goes, then get rid of Garland and focus on Acuff. But I really think it depends on what's gonna happen with Kawhi, and what they end
Mhm.
up doing. So we'll see what ends up happening. But yeah, that was my top five right there. So you guys got any trades before we get into the top 10? You guys are bottom 10. You guys got any trades? Nate, I know you said you got trades. Grant, you got trades?
Yeah, I got a couple trades. I got one with the Mavericks potentially? Because I mean, I'm always curious just to see what they're gonna do with this pick here. Like Nate had mentioned, are they gonna potentially maybe drop back, but gain a couple picks there, kind of a 2-for-1? Like I thought maybe if you do something like that with OKC, like would OKC maybe draft like Yaxel here? That's kind of what my thought process was, because I thought really if you're OKC too, what's not to go for really? I mean, you have all of these draft picks. You already got the roster you really need. You're just trying to go for NBA ready guys, and I don't think it gets more ready than that. The guy's had 20 years, before making it to college, and he had another 6 years there. So, I mean, I think that one would be really good, though. I think that would be an interesting trade right there. And then I didn't have like an actual idea for it, but I mean, just what are we gonna get with the Bucks too? Like the Bucks number 10 pick. I see a guy like Whereas Johnson kind of landing there potentially. I could see him getting as high as going there, but at the end of the day, that's just one where I have my eye on that. I think that one has the high potential to get, you know, traded to some other team there. Just kind of depends, and from there, that's gonna completely, I think, change the draft pick there. So those are kind of the two picks, 9 and 10, right there. I think back to back where we could get some potential trades.
I like that. I kind of have something similar. I do think so. I mean, after my top five, I had Wagler going to Brooklyn, Kingston Fleming going to Sacramento at 7, and then I know I mentioned Dallas potentially moving and trading one of the picks. I think they actually swap with Atlanta here, or I mean, they could make some sort of agreement. But I think Dallas tries to pick up a Daymara, uh, a guy again who Dusty May. He's coached at Florida Atlantic and Michigan. I think he would be a nice piece for Dallas, and I think that he wants to kind of have his big man come to him in the NBA, which would be kind of cool. And then if Atlanta, I mean, they might honestly trade this pick too. I feel like if it's for 8, or sorry, if they go back to 9, I think they could take a Mikal Brown Jr. Or they might try to package that and like I've heard some rumors about Kaminga or Ricochet, whoever it might be, like to a contender for a better player. Maybe Jalen Brown. I know there's some rumors there. So, but yeah, the last three guys to finish here were Yaks at 12 to OKC. I think that would be a good fit. Then I had the other Michigan man, Johnson, Morris Johnson, and then Nate at 14. So I'm surprised you had him at so high, honestly.
Me? Yeah. I mean, I had him because the Clippers struggled at, at 4. I guess there was a lot of
Yeah,
critical thinking with that pick a little bit more because I watched that team a little closely. So,
right.
I mean, hey, because if the Bulls, I'm not putting it past them, but the Bulls have had some, flaky picks in the past. If the Bulls decide to go guard route just because of this guard class is so good, and Caleb Wilson drops there at the 5, uh, for the Clippers, oh my gosh, if they keep that pick, please, that would be a godsend right there. Man, I have seen stuff about the Nets possibly trading down just because of maybe it's because of their blunder last year, 5 picks and none
Yeah.
of them were good. They could move down, but I don't think so. I think they'd kind of be stupid to trade it down, unless it's for a big man. And then only other one is possibly I could see Golden State. The only reason why I could see Golden State trading this pick is if they go after a star player like they have been. So, if they went to, try to go for Kawhi, I think that pick would have to be included. So that would go to the Clippers. I mean,
Trading for LeBron?
if they traded for LeBron, yeah, the Lakers, they could get right there. So, I know he doesn't want to do it after what he just, said the other day in his podcast or whatever. But Kevin Durant, if they were like, hey, KD,
Mm,
let's do it one last time, I could see them trading that to Houston, being like, we'll give you a Lemon, Jimmy, and somebody else. You come back and we'll be straight. But those are the only ones I had. So at 6 for the Nets, I put anyone but a guard. I put best fit. So whoever is, the best fit because they already have too many guards. But if one of Wagler or Brown is still there, I would go after them. Acuff, I went at the Kings for 7. I just think that they need a new face of the franchise. And when they do that, I seen that they always tend to go the guard route. I do like that. I think he'd be a good fit in Sacramento, although Sacramento is doing Sacramento things. But, I also could see Sacramento completely messing up this pick and going like Kareem Lopez or something like that, just because they love foreign guys.
Reem
7, I went
Lopez.
Mara because I do think the Hawks, the only thing that they do need is a big man. So I went Mara, and the stuff that I've seen about him, basically, like in the combine and his workouts, he's been pretty good. I think that'd be a good fit. Mavs 9, I went best available guard. So whichever one, is left of Wagler, Brown, Akoff, if they're all gone, then I think it'd be more of a best fit. But I do think they need a guard there at that team. I mean, bearing whatever happens, if Kyrie stays or goes, they still need, somebody to play alongside them. I already think, they're good in the backcourt with, the front court with PJ Washington, Derek Lively, Daniel Gafford. I know there's been trade smoke around that, but I think they'll be fine. Bucks, anyone. Warriors, I went Burries here. Brandon Burries, I think he'd be a good fit. Plus, they need some shooting. OKC, I did go Yaxel. 13 Heat, best player available. 14 Hornets, best player available. And 15, I went Morris Johnson here. And again, said anyone but a guard because they already have a plethora of guards and they don't need another. But yeah, I think I want to get you guys' take on this, but like, is there any, I guess, surprise players that you could see possibly like getting drafted higher than like what their projection is? I mean, like you may not, I don't know like all the projections off the top of my head, but anybody that you see like here like a lower tier name that could possibly, jump up or be higher than what they're expected to go?
Yeah, I mean, I think Morris Johnson's got to be the guy for me. I know he's not like projected to go like 20th or anything like that, but I think he's probably one of the most. I think he'll be one of the better pros on that Michigan roster, and I think he has the potential to go. I mean, Sean, for some reason, like if the Clippers were to go after someone like that too, I mean, I don't know, I couldn't see him going with that. I mean, that would be, I think, like a crazy, crazy high ceiling. I think that's a
Yeah.
little bit too much there, but like I realistically got him like still a top 10 pick there, and so I don't know. I think the last one I saw, he was like floating around 15, or something like that. I think is what it was, but I think he's got potential to climb up higher than that for sure. And Sean, you had what was it? Braden Burries going 12th or 13th, was it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I had him going up 11 to the Warriors. So
Yeah, he's one that I thought I originally had him at the 9 spot with the Mavs pick there potentially, but obviously depending on what kind of goes on there. But he's one I could see kind of going higher there. But other than that, really, I think just Morris Johnson, I think will turn out to be a really, really good pro. I'm more high on him, I think, than others. So that's probably the only one really for me, though. Other than that, I think you're talking maybe a couple spots jumping for each one. I don't think it's drastic, but obviously I'll 99% be wrong. So that's facts.
I mean, with how kind of deep this draft is, I'm looking at guys like Jane Quaintance, Chris Sinnott Jr., guys who have a lot of length and could potentially be some decent paint for, presence for some of these teams. Cause I feel like, you know, y- the draft is always like, guys always reach, they always want to try to get that next demigod build of a player. So I definitely think some of these guys who are probably a little bit longer, pause. But looking at it now, honestly, because OKC just traded Aaron Wiggins too. I mean, maybe they do go for like a younger guy like Morris Johnson instead of a Yaxel or something like that. A guy that I left out here too, like I mean, LeBaron Philon, Braden Burries, I think they're good, but just because they're smaller guards, like undersized guards, they might fall a little bit more. Same even with Kingston Fleming, but I think he's got a little bit better like IQ passing ability too. So, I mean, there's a couple guys in here though that will probably be pretty surprising. I know last year we had a couple guys that fell all the way to the second round who were, supposed to be lottery guys. So, seems like every year now something like that's happening.
yeah, it's different every year. I think for, every team, if you're, especially if you're going for like team fit or if you're going for, just best available player, Flemings is a guy that I could see going higher than what he's projected to, but at the same time, I could see him dropping a little bit. But I don't know. I do like his
I
game.
mean, he's already projected like top 7. I mean, how much else higher is he gonna go? He ain't going top 3.
No, he wouldn't go top 3, but I could see the Bulls doing something stupid and drafting him just
I
because.
mean, if the Bulls do that, then I'm never gonna watch them again. because their pick should have been assigned once they knew they were in the fourth pick. But I don't know. They
Yeah,
did draft Patrick Williams.
that is true. Yes. So yeah, I think another name you guys mentioned, or Grant, you said about like Morez Johnson. I could see him going higher than what he's expected to be right now, just because I feel like that his name has kind of gotten a lot of chatter on the recent weeks and things that I've read. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. I think for all three of those Michigan guys, kind of could jump up surprisingly like top 10, and I think the highest one out of all of them has been Mara just because of, his size and length. And to your point too, Nate, like you said about like length, like yeah, because everyone wants to draft the next KD, and now everybody wants to draft the next Wemby or, the next, SGA or something like that. So it's just like, if you have length, then it's like, well, yeah, it's appealing just because, if you got length and can shoot, oh my gosh, you got to be compared to KD. But yeah, I think this draft, like overall, will be interesting just to see, how things pan out. And like we talked about earlier, I think there is possibility for some trades. If and I think first, the Clippers and the Warriors before that, I think most people are looking at as well, just because of the situation going into next year. So yeah, could be interesting. Draft obviously Tuesday night. We'll look back at it once it does end up happening. The last thing to close out the show, did forget. I mean, it's not big news, but two contract extensions that happened. So Trae Young gets a bag after declining his player option, signs a new contract, 4 years, $212 million to stay with the Washington Wizards. I mean, man, the Wizards just love handing out money to guards, bro. If you're a guard and you're good, you're an all-star, they're gonna hand you a check, blank check. I mean, for a guy that's played like one game in a I say a rising star. I don't know if I'd say rising star, but young star. I mean, it's good, but I was looking at that just the year by year, and oh my gosh, it's backloaded. He's getting almost 60 million for those last 2 years, which is crazy. So we'll see what ends up happening. And then CJ McCollum did end up signing an extension with the Hawks, just a 1 year, $21 million. So he'll be there for another year. That's such a tradable contract, I think, especially, to a team that maybe is looking for, a guy like CJ McCollum, or if the Hawks, are trying to elevate and look for, maybe a budding star or whatnot. But what's your guys' thoughts
Nah,
on
he the
those
villain
two?
now.
He is the villain. He is the villain. So yeah, I mean, he could end up going to the Knicks because they're not gonna bring back the team. James Dolan already said that. That would be hilarious. But what's your guys' thoughts on the Trae Young and TJ McCollum extensions?
Yeah, I mean, Trae Young extension was nice. I mean, at the end of the day, I think it was earned. I mean, Trae Young still is like that guy, just not taking over the game like I guess you know he normally was, or like that Knicks playoff series. But it's also the Wizards too. At that point, like you gotta hang on to something like that, because if not, I mean, goodness, jeez, I mean, you got nothing going for you. You know what I mean? We'll see. Like you said about Anthony Davis and all that. So I'm curious to see how they can retain that team there, and kind of what they can shape around. With the first overall pick, like you mentioned. I mean, you had Darren Peterson there. That would be a very interesting, situation there. So I'd be curious to see that. But I like the idea of just getting Trey inked for a while, just getting him out there, and knowing kind of what you're going to have for that next 4 years there. 'Cause at the end of the day, he is a very solid player, just not, I'd say, overall superstar, but like very, very good. No doubt about that.
Yeah, I mean, it is a lot of money, but I guess that's just how the NBA rolls nowadays. Like they just doesn't matter kind of the achievements you have. And I mean, yeah, Trey Young, he's been him. He knows how to play, obviously. But it is like, is he really gonna be the guy that you feel like could lead you to a Eastern Conference Finals? Like I swear he had a podcast where he was like, and I hope makes me eat my words, but he's like, imagine if we're talking about the Wizards in the finals, what are you gonna do now? I was like, that's kind of a bold statement, but they got some really good pieces over there, and yeah, I mean AD too. He's a huge factor. Like he's not healthy. I feel like whatever team he's on and he's not healthy, they never do good. So he's gonna be a big part of it. But then McCollum too, it's good that they kept him. I think he'll probably play again for the Hawks, and hopefully he can lead them to the playoffs again. I did have one before we ended here. I had one trade that I think will potentially go down. So there was, and let me know if you think this is too out there, but beef stew, recently is apparently on the market, says Detroit, and you know, we got pick 21 this year. I think we could potentially trade beef stew, pick 21. And I think you would have to throw in a guy like Ron Holland in this deal to make it work just for the money. But for Trey Murphy, send beef stew to NOLA, and Detroit gets Trey Murphy. And I think it's kind of a win-win for both teams, honestly. I feel like New Orleans needs some toughness, and Trey Murphy's kind of been on the market too. He can go to a lot of different places, but I know Detroit was talking about him last year, and I think he would fit pretty well with our team. But I don't know. What do you guys think about it?
Grant, you go first.
Yeah, I mean, I think at the end of the day, depending on what we do with Jalen Duren too, I think ultimately we're gonna sign him again. I just don't. Hopefully, it's not for you know anywhere near that maximum, but definitely want to get him signed as well. But I mean, I like it. I think at the end of the day, we have other big men that we're fine with. We don't necessarily, like you mentioned, we don't need beef stew, but it would be nice to get a guy like Trey Murphy in there. I think just much more a way better team fit overall. I mean, we saw where we were lacking. It's like we can go get that right now. So I think overall, I think that would be, I think it'd be good for the Pistons. Absolutely.
So
Oh,
I'm
here
not
we
I'm
go.
not that high. I'm not that high on Trey Murphy. I
Oh, of
respect
course you're
him.
not.
I respect him and I like his game. I don't know if he Pistons fans might be just like doing it a little too. I'm not saying us, but others like on Twitter might be doing a little too much. Like, oh yeah, he's a shot creator and he's a 3-point shooter, and I'm like, yeah, he also was on the Pelicans, and when have the Pelicans been relevant? Right, that one year where they went to the play-in and they made the playoffs and then got swept. I mean, since then they've been nobodies. I don't hate the trade though. Like, I do think that yes, Beef Stew is on the. He's a great player. He's tough. He embodies everything Detroit is. But at the same time, there came time in the playoffs where he was just unplayable. And same with Ron Holland. I mean, I think Ron Holland played all but three, playoff games this run. So yeah, I do think that those two are the most likely. I'd expect one of those two to be traded for, whether it be Trey Murphy or somebody else. I mean, I know Tyler Heroes has been linked,
Mm.
but I do think yeah that Stu is probably going to be traded for a shooter or something. Ron Holland. I pray and hope that Karis LeVert is included in some of those trades. And I could see, unfortunately, Marcus Sasser just because of the way Dennis, what he did, in the past year. I do think, and I liked Sasser too. So, I always think that he just never got a chance, really, right? Because of Killian Hayes and then, guys, Dennis Schroeder last year and then now Dennis. So I think, yeah, it's
Well, what do
unfortunate.
you what do you think then? What do you think about like if Detroit traded for a guy like Cam Johnson or something and sent Stewart to Denver?
I don't hate it. I don't hate it at all. I think, yeah, I think the two things that the Pistons need are shooting and a stretch four. And like Cam Johnson would bring both of that, right? He can create a shot. He did it all in Brooklyn. I mean, same thing for like MPJ. If MPJ was the trade. So yeah, I think that's the Pistons need, right? They need shooting. They need shot creation. Stretch four is one of the things too. So yeah, I mean that pick 21. Honestly, I'd be surprised if we do end up trading it. I don't think after watching Trajan's presser last week, it sounds like he's going to stay with it. But at the same
Mhm.
time, if the right opportunity or deal comes up, I could see him
Yeah,
trading it. I see them more trading like up for a better pick as opposed to like trading it, completely away. I think they still want to
right.
draft and try to develop someone, but I just don't know who it is. And yeah, I don't even know like who they're going
The
to
only
pick at
thing I'm
21.
I'm worried about is like New Orleans has kind of said that they don't. I mean, Joe Dumars has kind of said he doesn't want to trade Zion, like anyone really on the team. So that would be like the only way, obviously, that doesn't go through is they're just stuck in having their core of guys there. But I do think Detroit's got to make some move here in the next couple days. I think for how fast free agency goes by, his beef stew's value is only gonna like go down, or maybe not even go down, but I think the offers are gonna get less and less of once the draft passes.
Yeah, I agree. I think too that it, just like that's the thing. Like, what do we draft for? Do we draft a shooter, right? Another guard, or a wing player, or like a big man? So that's what like I'm
Yeah,
torn apart at. And I honestly, I'd like them to trade up and draft Yaxel, but I don't know if it's gonna happen.
but
Just depending on.
he doesn't really fit. Like, yeah, he's a lengthy wing, but he doesn't really shoot the ball. Like, I would rather have a Trey Murphy or a Cam Johnson who can shoot the ball and actually be a reliable like offensive threat there. But if we do trade up, like I would feel like we'd have to get like a player already too.
Mhm. Yeah, I agree. I agree with that. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what the Pistons end up doing. I mean, just this offseason in general, it's been a lot of names linked. I mean, you mentioned Laurie, right? Laurie was the
Hmm.
talk of about the Pistons at the trade deadline, so could end up doing that route. So I wouldn't be opposed to it. It'll be interesting to see what they do end up doing here. I think, the first order of business and what all fans are worried about is what that Jalen Duren extension is going to look like, or a new contract is going to look like, right? And then a star extension, those two things. I think that's what has to happen first. And then, the trades, obviously. So, we'll see what ends up happening here in the next couple weeks. Honestly, free agency opens on July 1st. Yeah, it'll be interesting. We get the draft coming up. It's supposed to be, some trades happening, at draft day or whatnot. So yeah, we'll see what ends up happening here.
Oh, teams are tampering, bro. Ain't
Well,
no way
yeah,
Trae Young just declined his player option and not knowing he was about to get paid 55 M's, bro. Yeah,
that's facts.
I gotta wait. But nah, free agency, you're right. I guess that wasn't really, it was like a team signing. But
Yeah, nah. Well,
teams have been
we'll end up
tampering
seeing.
forever.
That's true. I mean, they've been tampering forever. It's just the ones, that get fined for it. But hey, the Knicks didn't, and they won a championship years later. So maybe it could happen, again for the Pistons. That would be lovely. So yeah, that's all we got for you guys today. Just talking about the draft and stuff. Obviously, once the draft does end up happening, we'll go through the prospects and teams and see how they fared up doing right before free agency starts, and give our free agent destinations and best fits and things of that matter. Hopefully, we'll have a couple of blockbuster trades to talk about by then as well. But for all, we'll catch you guys next time.